vinyl. And did I mention that big booty bass? Does it sound expensive? It's $369 USD. For what this thing does, it's a steal. I think it's titanium. Lowers her voice to let you know it's nookie time. And it has enough sparklies to keep up as well. You will find some instruments that won't stand out with perfect tonality and timbre. That's what the SR7 does very, very well. I need a man to love. I love my bling. It's vinyl in nature. Where I couldn't decide which tuning I liked the most. There's more of a dip around 18K that bats can hear. The Soundrine SR7 is not going to be for everyone. And too much of a good thing is not a good thing. And for once, not a gimmick. And that's what makes the SR7 a bit dangerous. So for louder listening and longer chill sessions, the SR7 is the choice. That's what the SR7 was tuned for, right? This library, this much fun. Hello everyone, this is the Tone Deaf Monk. Today I am showing you the latest Soundrine, and this one's called the SR7. So this one is a single dynamic and 6 balanced armatures done in a pretty cool way. So the single dynamic is not your standard 10 mil fare. This one's a 9.2 millimeter of some unknown materials. I think it's titanium. I made that up. And in the mid-range, this is kind of the special sauce of this entire IM. Sonyan 2600 series balanced armatures for the mids times 4. You typically see 2 or 1. This has got, so you know where it's going already. And then 2 of my favorite Knowles BAs for the high frequencies. This combination is my absolute favorite for hybrid IAMs that don't have ESTs. I think it's pretty wonderful. The SR7 comes in this medical grade semi-transparent blue shell that is stunning. It's about medium size. It's got a nice big vent for the BA, so there's no air pressure buildup. And then on the back, 2 tuning switches. And I'll get to that as a bit. This is the stock cable. It's a 8-core SPC. Mine's terminated with a 4.4. Again, thank you. You can order it in 3.5 single-ended or balanced as well. It's a great cable. Absolutely no reason to change this cable out. Pairing-wise, again, SPC the way to go, and I'll talk about that journey later on. they did everything right with this this IM shell wise as well. I'm using the JVC FX10 spiral dots, wide bore. Love this tip, especially for vocal IMs. You can kind of see, or not really. Lighting in here is poor. It is a super wide bore. Nothing restricting the high frequencies out. And again, that's going to be a little bit important as well coming up here. So that was my configuration. Most of my listening was done on this particular one with my Geshelli Labs J2 DAC and my topping A90D. So love that combination. Again, in my journey, I also used it on the iFi stack, and I found warmer sources not as good. Doesn't need it. In fact, it likes more analytical sources. And I'd say everything is pretty fine. It's pretty easy to drive. Besides the two tuning switches, it also has a three-way crossover, obviously, for the lows, mids, and highs. So it's pretty simply done. That shell, I should also mention, is using the very latest 3D printer technology. That's from Envision Tech, and it's a German manufacturing company that makes this machine to do these 3D printed shells. Absolutely state of the art. So no expense spared. Does it sound expensive? It's $369 USD. Oh yeah. One more thing. I don't normally shout out to packaging and manufacturers for what they do, but I did appreciate the way this one came. Came in a, your normal delivery box, and I was like, well, it's got some heft to it. It's kind of interesting. Box kind of looks like that. The sleeve, the inside, when you open it up, has this little foldable thing. Little cover here. It says Sound Rhyme on it. On the back of the box, it had some specs. It says 17 ohm here, but the online says 12 ohm impedance, so I'm not sure which one of those two is correct. Inside of that, you got this little metal case where the IMs came in. So, armor. And then you get this little pleather case. I'd say it's getting pretty close to pocketable. If you put the stock cable in, and IMs do fit in there, right? Sort of, barely. No, they don't. Not really. So yeah, they give you a case. It's nice. You'll probably never use it. And I tried it with the other 2-core cable, and it doesn't fit. So, and they give you some foamies and some quality wide bore tips. So again, well done on that one. Good presentation, nice secluded accessories. I didn't see a little device to toggle the switches, which would have been nice. And I sure wish they would have put a description of what those two switches do. So unless you read a review or watch a review, you're going to have to go by your ears. And you can tell, but the high frequency switch, maybe or maybe not, but the bass switch for sure. So, okay, that's it. That, we'll get into sound, but honestly, for what this thing does, it's a steal. I'll put the purchase link and I'll put the non-affiliated link down in my description, so make sure to look for there. You also will find a link to my SQUIGLINK, to my track playlist, and my if you want to chat, the best way to do that is on Discord as well. So there you go. I purchased this unit directly from Panon with a discount, so thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to get this a little earlier and to share my impressions with you. So I got some exciting stuff in this review. Take this with a grain of salt. I'm just having a bit of fun. Okay, so Tone Deaf Monk, me. I was able to obtain a transcript of the actual conversation that went on with the engineer and a test audiophile guinea pig. So in this, I'm just going to call him the audiophile GP. And it went like this. The GP. Make me something crazy musical with killer vocals, okay? Engineer. Try this sample. I put 2 Knowles BA in it for mids to give you some great vocals. Audiophile GP. Sounds nice. But the bass is overpowering the mids and highs. Engineer. Let me try this. Okay. We reduced the bass by 8 dB. Audiophile guinea pig. Nice. Very balanced. Almost there. Still wishing for more organic mids. Engineer. Here you go. Try this version. I added 2 more balanced armatures and switched to some very highly regarded Sonian 2600 series for a total of 4. Audiophile, taking a quick listen. Yeah, man, that's what I'm talking about. Just wow. Now, Bean Counter steps in. Excuse me, it's going to cost too much money. Let's go for some bell sing BAs. Nobody can hear the difference. At this point, the audiophile walked over to the Bean Counter and said, listen, I don't condone physical violence, but the Sonian BA, they're staying. Make this work at an affordable price, or I'm going to tell your mom you don't eat your veggies at lunch. That's where the Bean Counter took off to. Audiophile. Sweet vocals, my man, but when I crank up the highs, makes me want to turn it down. Can you do something? Engineer. Okay, retuned it where I made the BA highs a lot more relaxed. You should be able to play it louder. Audiophile. Wow, that's better. But what? The engineer says, Audiophile, sorry, but I kind of miss that big bottom end now that I can dial it to 11. EDM sounds a bit weak. Engineer. All right, I came up with a great idea nobody has thought of before. Going to put a few switches on the side to attenuate the bass for the vocal tuning, and when you flick the switch, big booty bass, what you asked for. Audiophile. Dude, you are a genius. That's amazing. 2 completely different tunings. One for sweet vocals and the other one for big booty bass and vocals. You really outdid yourself on this one. Audiophile. What's the other switch do when I flick it? It didn't really hear a difference. Engineer. I had an extra spot, so I told the Bean Counter it adds value to the pricing to make him happy. It also attenuates the highs just a tad, so it's not fluff, but really it's just mostly for show. Audiophile. Outstanding. Excuse me while I take these for an 8-hour zone-out session. My brother from another mother. I love you, and I love these IMs. Engineer. Okay, dude, right on, rock on. Audiophile guinea pig. What are you calling these ones? Engineer. The SR7 stands for sound rhyme and has 7 drivers on each side. Audiophile. Okay, well that makes sense. Just curious, other companies just throw out some ZXXYZ names. Engineer. We are sound rhyme and we are here to play. So just a disclaimer, some of this I translated or may not have had the exact wording correct and improvised quite a bit because I can't read Chinese, but I'm pretty sure it went like that. Yeah. So, moving on. Next part of my review is kind of what I liked. What did I like about the SR7? What stood out to me? First of all, I really love that shell. It fits so comfortably, and it's quite compact. If you think about 7 drivers per side, and you can look inside, not a whole lot of extra room in there. So well done on that one. I love that you can see through and see the drivers. I love it. The tops, I should also mention, are hand painted. So every set's going to have a different pattern. You're never going to get one the same. Your set will be different from my set. Pretty cool. I love the 2-pin. I'm also an MMCX fan, but 2-pin is regarded an easy. Thank you for not putting a QDC connector on here. And it just looks better. It looks more high-end for sure. Now, what else did I love? I love the relaxed highs. For treble-sensitive people, and people who like to listen to their music at louder volumes. You know, when you have an IM and it does have lots of high-frequency energy, you're typically going to listen to it at lower volume so it doesn't take your head off and in different songs. So for me, I appreciate that. That's one of the things I really liked about this set. Forward vocal always to keep you engaged regardless of what the bass switch is doing. I'll go into more about the switches in the next section. Now let's talk about the bass. Fantastic bottom end. It goes low. It hits hard. It has a really nice curve into the mid bass, and it has minimal bass bleed into vocals, switch dependent. And this is, you can either do it for a neutral kind of sound or more of a fun IEM kind of tuning. But vocals are always prominently forward. Both male, female, silky smooth, organic, very lush musical way. If you're a vocal lover like I am, and I'll compare later to the Fan 2, which was one of my favorites, that bass is really a standout. That 9.2 millimeter driver, I don't know what they're using. You can tell it's a quality driver. You can hear it. You can tell. When you're dialing this thing up, it doesn't break up. It doesn't distort, and can take some punishment. The sub bass and the mid bass you get in spades. With the up switch, the SR7 is really a bass monster. And the vocals, which surprisingly enough keep up with ease, really. The up switch drops now, sort of the down up position, drops the bass overall by about 8 decibels. That's quite a bit. Brings the vocals to the center stage with even greater effect. And I love that about this SR7 and the fact that it had a Jekyll and Hyde kind of personality, but neither one was evil. So, hold on. There we go. I'm back. Now, the stage width and the height are outstanding on the SR7. It has a more intimate stage without huge depth or 3D effects. And why this is what I liked, because it keeps you focused, center stage. And it's my favorite kind of tuning, where it's not there's not too much stuff going on around you and pulling you away. Keeps you in that center stage. Again, it's a little bit more intimate, but again, I actually like that. And it's unabashedly a vocal-centric IEM through and through, very smooth. I would say that the overall tonality of the SR7 is vinyl in nature. What I thought I was wishing more, again, this is subjective, because you're going to have a more relaxed high end, micro nuances. Because of the tamed upper treble, it's not going to be a super detailed set. You got to know that going into this one. Detail retrieval, layering of instruments suffer a bit with the relaxed tuning on the top end. This is not for treble heads, for sure. The treble switch now, so treble switch had very little effect. So there's two switches. I'll talk about that right now. First switch, 1 and 2. So I call it up, up, down, 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 up, down. All right. The down switch for the treble didn't really do much. It attenuates some really high frequencies, and maybe my hearing is toned off a little bit on the upper highs, but I didn't hear a huge difference with the switch. And if you look at the graph, not on this one because this one's just showing you the with or without the bass switch, it had little effect. So I just left it to the up position all the time. Micro macro details are also tamed, again, because especially if you had the bass position in the down and it's more of a neutral tuning, you're not going to have a lot of dynamics in the replay where there's big transitions between quiet passages and very loud passages, because you don't have the dynamics in the bass and the highs. You're missing the two. You're not missing, but it doesn't have a lot of energy if you're having the down switch for the bass. With the bass button on, you get more dynamics with the bottom end, but again, the highs are very relaxed. So music like orchestra, that kind of stuff, it's not going to be the greatest presentation. Female vocals with the bass switch, it has a tad, it has a smidge. On a few tracks, I found it thick, especially in the track if it had lots of bass. So that's really called bass bleed. And it's not really a knock here as too much, as it didn't make the female vocals unnatural. My notes are basically, it just sounded like the voice your lover gives you after a week away and lowers her voice to let you know it's nookie time. There you go. Now, like I said, most of it was on the big amp, and I really liked it with the more resolving DAC. A couple tracks I want to go with, and I kind of gravitated to tracks that had more bass. Before I get into there, let's just go back a second and make sure that I'm clear on the switches. So 2 tuning switches. They come in the up position, which is bass on, treble on. I left the treble on and was mostly doing my listening impressions with either on or off. And so most of these tracks, listening impressions are with the bass switch on and treble switch on, unless I'm going to tell you. And so here we go. So and I gravitated to more bassier vocal tracks because this is what this IM does well. And so I'm not going to try and force it to play libraries or content that it's not going to do well. And I did. And just to confirm my impressions. Arsonist Lullaby by Hozier. There is no bass bleed here. Excellent bass notes. Male vocals are outstanding. Okay. Poem of Chinese Drum by Yim Hock Man. Okay, this track is, you got to know, is over 10 minutes long of solid different kinds of drumming. Here I use this one to really get a good feel of how quality the dynamic driver is, or whatever is making the bass. You can hear on the SR7 the subtleties of the attack and decay. You can hear when the drum hits the skin of the drum is resonating, and how much longer it resonates and what kind of tonality. It trails off so nice and gives you so much extra musical experience. It's a really good dynamic driver. I listened to all 10 minutes a couple times at pretty high volumes, no, very high volumes. especially the last one. I just kept turning it up, and it tickles your ear hairs. And if you don't get a big smile on your face from that, well, then you're not a bass head. I Need a Man to Love by Janis Joplin. In the up position, it had perfect female vocals, and extra bass made it even more fun on this track. I didn't find it made the vocals too thick in this one, even on up position. It was just a really good listen. Marvin Gaye by Charlie Puth and Meghan Trainor. It's not an analytical track, it's a fun track. And in the up position, it again had perfect female vocals. Meghan Trainor was awesome. And the extra bass, it just made it more fun than the down up position. I didn't think it was too thick in her voice. It was a good track to showcase the SR7, really, how it can do outstanding vocals and solid fat bass lines in the mix, where nothing's getting washed out there. And it has enough sparklies to keep up as well. So all my friends are here. Joe Satriani. I listened to this one where he describes this one as a guitarist trying to contain a wild beast. It didn't do so well. And again, here's an electric guitar, lots of high frequency energy. And in this multi-layered track, it does give you a good sense of depth and layering. And here you can kind of tell where the SR7 isn't its strong suit. While it played it really, really well, you can tell the ascending A major guitar riff sounded kind of monotone in that, and it needed more high frequency energy to get to that ascending A major. But was it an awesome listen? Yeah, you could again play it loud. So knocks on that one. Medellin by Madonna. Vinyl. That was the only word that I could use to describe this track. Yeah. I Want It All by Queen. Stage. You know, you gotta love the trippy recordings. The SR7 can belt out this track, nothing short of amazing. And you get the volume to 13. That's what the SR7 was tuned for, right? This library, this much fun. Check It Out by Nicki Minaj. So again, another bass heavy track. I listened to it both. Up, down, and up, and down, up. Hold on for a second. Thriller by Michael Jackson. The pan from the left and right stage is very cool. Michael's voice rumbles, has a certain edge to it. Sounded perfectly natural, very balanced and incredibly smooth. Love that replay. Give by Niles Lofgren. So guitarist, vocalist. Again, wicked fun. Do I wish for more high frequency energy in this kind of track? Yes, I do. Again, instrumental that requires a lot of high frequency energy. The SR7 doesn't put it out, but it makes everything very smooth. Ambiguous Mr. Lovegood live, the Dead Can Dance song. Here I'm listening for its stage. Clearly impressive. Great sense of the live recording, the venue. It was quite excellent. Have I heard better? The Pen-On 10th did this one fantastic. The SR7 did it okay. Does it still give you that sense of stage? It does, but again, I've heard better replays of that. So when you're listening to the RS7 and you're picking it up, or the SR7, know what you're picking up and play to its strengths, really. So Ni Pokanzas Miloski remastered by Hani Arani. Not all roses, of course, in the SR7. In the up position, piano sounded great. On the down-up position, I thought the piano was missing some note weight and dynamics in the overall song. I certainly preferred the extra bass energy with the up position. So again, if you're a diehard piano, right, up you're gonna like, and if there's some more violin and stuff, and I again, just to put in some other stuff in there, the J.S. Bach Cello Suite No. 1 in G major by Tina Gao. So here again is the Jekyll Hyde personality of the SR7 with cello. If you put it in the up position, sounded very nice. Instruments play in the lower octaves well, but in the down-up position, I found it was just missing some note weight. The Vivaldi Double Cello Concerto Movement No. 1, again by Tina Gao. Standout track for multi-layers and instrument separation. How did the SR7 do? Here I find some more of the shortcomings of the SR7. The relaxed treble, you will find some instruments that won't stand out with perfect tonality and timbre because they're just missing some of that energy you would get if you had more upper, mids, and treble. So now let's go to something that the SR7 does well. Chemical Mentalist by Crystal Method. EDM slam. No sibilance, no harshness, massive amounts of bass and fun. It lets you turn it up very, very loud. That was one of those tracks that, you know, rock, EDM, reggae, rap, and playing loud, and vocals. That's what the SR7 does very, very well. Overall sound impressions. Well, upon first listen in the up position, my initial thoughts were that the bass was a bit boomy. It would bleed into the vocals enough to affect it quite a bit. So my whole process, of course, initial first listen, burn it in, more listening, you know, it's a process. To share my impressions, it takes quite a bit of time. So ongoing, 20 plus hours in later, obviously a whole lot more, 80 plus now, as I'm sharing this with you. My impressions about the boomy bass have completely mitigated almost entirely. The bass is playing lower now, the sub bass. There's not a whole lot of boominess going on. The BAs seem to have caught up with the dynamic driver, and it's really a non-issue. There is occasion still where there's a few tracks where it's really bass heavy, and you have female vocals going in the same mix that you do find a tad thick. And then you'll listen to a track right after that, and it will sound perfect. So I think it's really track dependent and probably genre specific as well as source dependent, on a more resolving and a less warm source as well. So let's talk about those switches and really what they did to the overall sound impressions. So that comes with the up position out of the box. I didn't really know what they did. You know immediately when you flick the switch, not so much with the treble switch, but definitely with the bass switch, the first one. So in the down and up down position where you're attenuating a little bit of the treble. Hold on for a second. Let me actually switch to that graph and I'll show you. Hey, while I'm doing this, I'll show you something else interesting on SQUIG. So on SQUIG, the new kind of way of, it's kind of a hidden menu to see all of the sub tunings. You kind of have to go to, you pick your brand, Sound Rhyme, you pick your model SR7, you click on that, and when you get down to here, when you get down to this part right here, there's a plus button, and you hit the plus button, and now it'll show you all of the possible tunings: up, 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 down, 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 and down, up. Now if I show you what up, down look like, and down, down look like, where are you? And down, down. And get rid of down, up, and get rid of up, up. So, down, up. Over here, you get more high frequency energy. And that's really in like the 12K, where you get about a plus 4 dB in the 12K. So not changing a whole lot. If you put the switch into the down position, it attenuates again about 4 dB for at around 12K, and there's a more of a dip around 18K that bats can hear. So there you go. That's not really going to affect music too much at all. So the up, I left it at the up position. I wanted more high frequency energy, and it didn't mess with anything. And I probably should have spent more time with the down position for treble, but I like it up. So there you go. Back to the graph for this one here. So you can see that it attenuates about 8 dB, not just in sub bass, but all the way to about 400 hertz. So it adds more energy in this really gentle glide to about 400 hertz. So it's adding in quite a bit of mid bass and sub bass when you flick the bass switch on. All right. So that is the switches. To give you some impressions of the up plus 80 hours in, okay, this is in my journey. Wide bore tips, spiral dots, left them there. I love what they do to stage. Now cables, I'll just briefly touch about that. I'm not a cable shill. I love my bling, right? I do. But so I tried the pen-on vocal cable, and I have this one on my favorite IM, the Thor Molinar, and I love what it does to that IM. I put it on here. I took it to work for an afternoon, and I had a great listening session, and I really did not like it. I kept switching the position to the bass position to down because it made the bass too muddy, but it also made the vocals. That cable does exactly what it says it is. It's called the vocal cable, and it put too much of a good thing in, and too much of a good thing is not a good thing. So that cable came off immediately. It definitely was not the right pairing for this IM. And I then put the stock cable back on with the SPC, and I put a very similar cable on, and I left it there. So SPC cable, stock one or some other one is the way to go. There you go. With that pen-on cable, it just added just so much extra information that it made it sound unnatural. With the up position, again, that extra bass in the mid bass, because it adds quite a bit in there, I find the stage is also affected, of course, right? Versus the down up position where it was better. Bass heavy tracks put some serious bass, really at the expense of better resolution and details that kind of get rolled over a bit. So the up position, I couldn't tell if that was my favorite or the down up position. The down up position is, the mid bass is still excellent, and I love the energy and the speed of this driver. And the glide it does is definitely my favorite kind of glide for the bass. You could say that this is by far the most forward vocal setting, and you'd be correct. You get a great sense of height. The depth is better. The width is staggering in the staging. And the setting, it just so lets you prioritize vocals. And if vocals and stage are a priority for you, then this is the setting for you. Bass heads might not prefer this setting because, well, it's just a more balanced one. And still great for being very vocal forward, has organic bass, but on this position, the vocals are definitely going to take center stage. So it really depends on what you're looking for or you're in the mood for. Do you want to flick the switch or not flick the switch? My final thoughts on the SoundRhyme SR7. With the relaxed treble, it just allows you to play this IM loud, like crazy loud, like loud as you want, louder than you definitely probably should. And if you had an IM with more treble in it, you're definitely going to find it more fatiguing than the SR7. And that's what makes the SR7 a bit dangerous and addictive, and the fact that you can jam out and turn it up. The SoundRhyme SR7 is not going to be for everyone. It doesn't play all libraries. It doesn't do classical well, instrumental, and highly detailed music. It's just not the SR7 strong suit. EDM, rock, reggae, vocals, and big bass, you will love it. I found the SR7 took a little while for it to actually burn in, and that's important. Don't share your impressions with something that's out of the box, whether you believe in driver burn-in or not. For me, it changed quite a bit. So I stick it on something, burn it in for at least 20 hours, please, before you say that the bass is muddy. With the bass switch on, the SR7 really just goes from the bass switch off, hyper vocal centric IAM with good mid bass slam. With it on, you go from that very hyper centric vocal centric IAM to a bassy vocal IAM. Just as a comparison now to like the Pen-On Fan 2. It's I wanted to compare it against the Fan 2 because this is another great vocal goddess. Because it's one of my all-time favorites, and I glamored over this thing, obviously. Some of the things I thought the SR7 did differently than the F2, to give you some comparison, of course, with the up position, was the bass overall, sub-bass especially, is in a great deal more quantity than the Fan 2. The Fan 2 dreams of it doing it this way, and it can't with the dual 7mm drivers and tuned the way it is. Fan 2 is special for what it does. Where the Fan 2 is very vocal centric as well, the mid bass and the bass is considerably tamer compared against the SR7 with the up switch on. And if you love the vocal and vocal forwardness of the Fan 2, and thought maybe I want a bit or a whole lot more bass, then here's the SR7. Something to note, so I turned the bass switch off on the SR7, and I wanted to see how the two, because if I show you a graph, and I'll pull that up, between the Fan 2 and the SR7 with the bass switch off, the Fan 2 looks like it has a little bit more bass energy, but in reality, how it plays out is the SR7 has more rumble and about as much slam in the mid bass than the Fan 2. Vocals also seem with the SR7, because of the 4 balanced armatures in there versus the single, it just sounds more effortless, more natural, less forced, if that makes any sense. So I found the vocals too just as forward with the SR7 as they are with the Fan 2, and it has a smoother replay. Again, if you have a V8 engine, it's going to work a whole lot less harder to get up that hill than a 3-cylinder, right? So it just does it more effortlessly in a smoother way. The F2, I think, is a little bit more top energetic. So for louder listening and longer chill sessions, the SR7 is the choice. It has the Fan 2 beat. Both are great. Both complement, I think, each other if you like vocal-centric sound signatures. And I'm pretty blessed to actually have both, where I could pick up one or the other, really depending on my mood. So, in conclusion, I just want to say that I really, really enjoy the SR7. I think it's unique. I don't have another one that does quite what this one does in such a special way that you can just sit and enjoy your favorite vocal tracks with the bass switch off and get completely lost in the music. But I also love the bass switch on tuning as just as much. The tuning on the SR7 is just very well done in both switches. The SR7 will definitely be in my daily rotation as well. And yeah, with the bass switch on, all I can say is I'm kind of shocked that this IM can really just pull it off. Where you still get this lush, musical, crazy forward vocal presentation while simultaneously just getting slammed with sub bass and a great amount of fast, speedy mid bass. It adds musicality and dynamic replay that is just, it is worth hearing. I can honestly say that I've never experienced another IM like the SR7 that also has tuning switches or swappable nozzles where I couldn't decide which tuning I liked the most. When you flick the switch, you listen, you flick the switch again, you listen to some more, and then you flick the switch and you listen to some more, and then you do some more listening. And in the end, you normally come to a conclusion that, yeah, for sure, I like this tuning, and you kind of leave it there. Not on the SoundRhyme SR7. I really love this IM in all its positions. I feel grateful that I can truly enjoy the different tunings. That the switches were implemented nicely. They bring real value to my listening experience, and for once, not a gimmick. Really great value, I think the SR7 brings to the table. It's a very competitive market right now. At $369, I'm getting in the P8, which is going to be a completely different tuning, and I'm looking forward to that. The new ISN as well. That's going to be a 1+4. I also get the SoundRhyme SR5 coming in, so I'm going to do a video on that too and share my impressions of that. But today's competitive market, there's a lot of similarly tuned stuff, and normally when you find high-end IMs, you find more, they're more willing to take some risks and do some tuning changes, and it's nice to see it at a sub-kilobuck price range. With the SR7, you get a relaxed treble. You get a fatigue-free replay. An IM with a solid low end, sacrificing nothing for your vocals. And did I mention that big booty bass? I did. I'm going to do it again. Well done, SoundRhyme. Very good. And I love you, SR7. Thank you again for watching my video, taking your time to read my reviews if you wish as well, and I'll post that link. That's it for now until the next one comes. I think the next one up will be the Project Red from Kryn, Truth Hero. Thank you much. Just Tone Deaf Monk, and I'm out.